Hey everybody, how you doing? Greg from Park Journey here. I had a new video that I've been wanting to do for a bit about some of the changes at Six Flags. It's been a while since we've actually kind of talked about any of this stuff since last year. We had some videos out about the merger and things like that. So now that we're kind of, 8 months into the merger, we're starting to see a lot of changes happening. I wanted to make sure that we talked a little bit about some of that. So, like I said, in today's video, I want to talk a little bit about Six Flags because all the videos and the expert opinions that we've been seeing about ride removals and other things, they've been all really just doom and gloom, how it's the worst thing ever, and this is going to doom the company. And why is that? Because doom and gloom actually gets clicks. Spoiler alert. So although this video isn't going to be just sunshine, rainbows, and lollipops, I've been doing this a long time, longer than I'd honestly care to admit. So I actually have some experience when it comes to things like theme park consolidations, and honestly, maybe just a few more years of reflection that I can perhaps offer. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. I'm not going to delay. I'm not going to do some huge introduction. We're just going to get right into it. But before I do, make sure you click that subscribe button or whatever. Don't. It's okay. But we do appreciate it when you do. All right. So I'm going to start off this video by admitting I was wrong about something. I was wrong when I said that Six Flags would not close Kingda without a proper send-off. I didn't think they would, to be honest with you. I wanted, fans to get a proper send-off. When I said that I didn't think that was happening, a lot of people took that as, oh, you just don't want fans to get a proper send-off. That's not true at all. I was hoping that, they would get fans in New Jersey and the surrounding area, fans who wanted to travel would get some kind of, advanced warning. Didn't happen. So I was wrong. I'll admit I was wrong. And of course, that's not the only coaster that has actually gotten the axe without a send-off. Green Lantern, no big loss there. La Vibora, I actually rode that at Magic Mountain and Six Flags Over Texas. And a few more. I think probably the biggest one that it wasn't even a coaster. It was the Sky Ride at Great Adventure. I think that was probably the one that probably was the worst for some of us. But there's been quite a few others at other parks. There's Time Warp is reportedly gone now, which again, no huge loss there. But nothing has really gotten the attention of Kingda, at least outside of theme park or coaster enthusiast circles. That's gotten really national attention. But I get the feeling that Kingda is not going to be the last big coaster closed down that is going to get national attention. So there's going to be a lot more that are going to get attention in our circles, but I think there's probably going to be a few more that are going to get some national attention. I am not going to speculate what those are. That is not what this video is about. I'm not going to sit here and try to talk about what I think is leaving, what I think is staying. That's not what this video is about. So if you're waiting for that, you can go ahead and stop watching now. So while I understand why they're making these closures, and I'm certainly going to get into why I think it's a good thing at the end of the day, I do wish parks would be a little bit more open about closures and when they're closing it and give people a nice send-off. But on the flip side, I can certainly also understand why they haven't actually done that. There were even issues that last weekend of Kingda, people stealing things from the queue line, people pulling out plants and bamboo and taking bamboo with them. So I can certainly see why they haven't really wanted to publicize these things. So you can see both sides of it. And of course, it's not all without precedence either. Those of us who are a bit older certainly remember other coasters that have been unceremoniously removed or relocated, without notice. Hard Rock Park, anybody? Geauga Lake. Even today, Oakwood in Wales announced that they're closing. Blue Streak at Conneaut Lake Park. Batman and Robin the Chiller, Speed the Ride in Vegas, Ozark Wildcat, Anaconda. The list goes on. There's so many more. But let's remember that actually getting notification that an attraction is closing is kind of a recent thing. Most of the time in the pre-internet age, a ride would simply be open one day and then it would be closed the next. Or it would close the final day of operations for the season, and then by the opening day of the next season, it would be gone. Nobody would even know. It was pretty common for that to happen. So to think that we're somehow owed the chance to say goodbye to something is honestly a new thing, and honestly rather asinine. Coaster and theme park enthusiasts, we make up a very small percentage of the overall theme park fan. So what do you think the average visitor to a theme park cares about when they make their once a year or once every few year visit to a park? They care that everything is open, that they can get on an attraction in a reasonable time. The park is clean, the park is safe, they're getting value for their money. That's what people actually care about. The people that actually go and spend a bulk of the money at theme parks. And that's honestly what's about to happen. So let me explain. So unlike a certain unnamed government agency that is looking to cut costs, but is instead making things infinitely worse, the removal of some of these attractions is honestly something that is long overdue, like decades overdue. So what have been some of the biggest complaints about theme parks over the past decade or so? Well, the lockers, obviously. But closed attractions, coasters only running one train, lack of staff, park cleanliness, decline in food quality. Why do you think that is? Do you think these theme parks don't want to run at full capacity or give people a great time so they want to come back again and again and again? Of course they do. These changes are not being made lightly. They're not being made with malice. They're being made because they make financial sense in the long run. So let's just think about something like Kingda. On a good day, a very good day, it had an hourly capacity of around 1,400 people. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and leave it at 1,400. So I don't need to reduce the numbers here at this point. For an average 10-hour day that the park is open, again, just averaging 10 hours, that would be approximately 14,000 riders per day. This is assuming it's running at full capacity. That is 6 trains, opens with the park, closes with the park, and has 0 downtime. Okay? In 2023, Six Flags Great Adventure had 2.5 million visitors. This year in 2025, they have 204 operating days on their schedule as of now. Although many of those days are days that Kingda wouldn't have been able to open anyway, such as Holiday in the Park. But again, I'm going to go ahead and keep it at the 204. So that's approximately, if my math is correct, 12,500 visitors per day. So basically, just by the numbers, Kingda should have been able to handle 1,500 more riders per day that actually visited the park. If you throw in non-riders and those that don't hit the height requirement, let's go ahead and take off another 1,500 that wouldn't be riding Kingda on any given day. So now we're up to 3,000 riders below the theoretical capacity of Kingda. What that should really mean is that the coaster would have a relatively short wait, as its capacity is greater than the number of guests in the park or that want to ride it or that can ride it on any given day. Now ask yourself, did this ever happen? Was Kingda ever a walk-on? Why do you think that is? Because it had constant downtime. It only used one of the 2 stations, only 3 of the theoretical 6 trains on a good day. Trains were in refurb. It opened late. It closed early. It had slow operations. It wouldn't open for Holiday in the Park or even really in the season. There was even a time when they couldn't launch Kingda while Zumanjaro Drop of Doom was going up during its ride cycle. It couldn't even do that. So what would you put the actual hourly capacity of Kingda at? Since we all know that Kingda routinely ran 3 trains maximum, we're now going to cut that hourly capacity down to 700. That's 700 an hour. That's 7,000 people that could ride Kingda in any given day. Again, that is factoring in no downtime. So instead of having 3,000 additional people that would be able to ride Kingda on any given day on average, you now have 2,500 people in the park on any given day on average that will not be able to ride Kingda because the capacity of the coaster will not allow them to. And again, that's on a good day with running 3 trains, a full crew, and no downtime. Doesn't that seem more like what we've seen the last decade or so from Kingda? Now ask yourself, how much percentage of the overall maintenance cost that is allotted to Six Flags Great Adventure was being taken up by Kingda? How much did it cost per launch? An attraction that at least 2,500 people in the park could not ride on any given day due to capacity. There were reports that Kingda was in the top 5 most costly attractions to maintain in the Six Flags chain pre-merger. And consider that Kingda was built by a manufacturer that is still in business. So getting replacement parts was not really difficult, it just was expensive. Now consider that cost for an attraction built by a manufacturer that no longer exists. You not only have to factor in the cost that we mentioned above, but also finding somebody to manufacture those parts, those replacement parts, because the company that built it doesn't exist anymore. And the older these attractions get, the more things need to be replaced. Do you see where I'm going here? I know we don't like to admit it, but theme park attractions and roller coasters are machines. They're like your car. They need tune-ups, they need to be maintained. Most of them are in the elements 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And I don't have to tell you that some theme parks have very harsh winters and or very harsh summers. Next time you go for a ride in your car, look at the cars around you. How many cars from the mid-'80s do you still see on the road? How about cars from the early 90s? Hell, even the late 90s. Do you see where I'm going here? With all of that being said, I'm honestly really optimistic about these changes. These are all things that have needed to happen for a decade, as I mentioned, if not more in some cases. If we want the clean park, the park running at the highest possible capacity, well-staffed, quality food, and yes, even the occasional new attraction every few years, hard decisions need to be made. And they have to be made now. That means more ride closures are coming. That means some parks are likely to close. The chain is simply too big. There's simply too much debt. That doesn't mean that Zimmerman hates us all. He's not just sitting in his office with park maps and some darts and throwing them randomly at park maps. Although that would be pretty funny to see, that is not what's happening here. I'm going to be blunt. We're in for a few rough years. That much is certain. There's no way around it. And we're going to have to go through a few hundred online videos of people complaining about the changes and that their favorite ride is closing. But when the chain emerges from this, a more lean company that is spending money to actually improve the overall guest experience, instead of throwing it all away on 15 to 20 attractions that have quite honestly completed their lifespan, it's all going to be worth it. I honestly and truly believe that. I just ask that the chain actually give fans a bit of a heads up before they close a classic attraction. While we didn't always get that, it is the internet age. A bit of goodwill does go a long way, and a bit of transparency is never a bad thing. Look what Magic Mountain did to close out the original Colossus. We had months of warning, we had photo ops, hell, we even set up to get the last ride of public riders on Colossus ever. It was amazing. We'd love the opportunity to do that again and extend that goodwill. So what do you think? Am I completely off base here? Is this all bad and no good? Let me know, I can take it. And if I'm wrong, I'll come back in 5 years, even if Park Journey no longer exists, and I'll admit that I was wrong. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. I'd love to see your thoughts. I'd love to see your comments. And take care.